Hey, good morning, Gus. I had all these tools laying around the house, but they're all kind of dull. I was wondering if you could help me out with them.
Yeah, we'll give it a try.
There's that bolo from the Filipino fellow.
Okay.
This one comes from our boss, Stephen Brown. It's like an old-time Japanese tool that splits the bamboo. It's got a bunch of beveled blades on there. And I brought here a couple of your favorites too. There's like a double-bitted axe and the Pulaski.
And the Pulaski. Yeah. Okay. All valuable tools that we use in our business, and as a gardener, you probably use all of these, you know, and you'll have to build up your own preference. And so I was going to show you a few tools to start off with. And the first and my favorite are bypass pruners. And bypass pruners mean this blade goes by this part. Just goes right by it. Okay? So this is one pair of pruner called bypass, and these are anvil type. This blade drops down and it just kind of hits it like that. But why most gardeners don't like it, this is where your limb is, or the branch. And so you're smashing it on this end, and that's why they don't like it. But these cut very easily, and they're cheap. These could cost up to $45. These you probably can get for about $15. Okay, so it's if you're just taking the class and you don't intend to be a gardener, you start with a cheaper model. But eventually, you will want to go to a pair of pruners that work real well. The reason I like these, all the parts are interchangeable. The blades could come off without any tools hardly. They have a spring that just comes right off, like that. So if you break the spring or lose it, you buy another one. They come in a pack like this. And you could get these wherever they sell Felcos, okay? So just remember that's name is called Felco, okay? And when you get old, you're gonna put your glasses on just to put the spring back there, okay? Also, what you want to remember when you have pruners, keep your fingers out of the way. These could cut off the tip of a finger and you won't even know it till you look and the blood's coming off. I cut the tip off of this finger.
Let's see it. Is it still growing hairs, Gus?
I got about 2 hairs on it because they cut some meat out of here and sewed it on there, so it looks pretty good. But so I just want you to know, and you know, the day that I did this, I told all my friends I'm such an idiot and all this, and a couple of them said, take a look at all our gloves. If we're right-handed, that finger on the left-hand glove is always cut. So it happens to everyone, but that day I wasn't wearing gloves, so, you know, remember that.
Hey, Gus, how you train the young kids to prune so they don't cut off their fingers?
Yeah. My grandson, he was just a little guy and he wanted to work, and I said, okay, here's the pruners, these very pruners, this brand anyway. I said, you put this left hand in your pocket. Now you prune all you want. But you know, when you get to be in horticulture, you think you grab the branch, you cut, and throw it away. And a lot of gardeners, that's how they cut their fingers off. Whether they got electric shears or something, they're taking the brush away as they're cutting with this hand. And they get out of sync, and all of a sudden you clip the wrong finger, okay? So keep that in mind. You got to be current, know where everything is all the time. So when you jump from these pruners, we jump into loppers. And loppers, as a rule, are bypass, just like these, okay? They do make anvil type, and then they even have ratcheted ones. They go clunk, 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 clunk. But you know, my idea is rather than use anvil type, ratcheted, you go to a tree saw and use a tree saw instead of getting a big pair of loppers, okay? And these have these saber teeth. These are very fast saws, and a lot of time when I go to work, I usually don't take loppers. I take these 2 pair.
That's it.
And that's it. If you want to, you carry loppers are for kind of heavy work and rough work. When you're getting into finer cuts and everything, you're either pruners or your saw. Okay? So that's about all I can tell you. Loppers come in shorter ones, longer ones, and so a lot of times people aren't real strong in their hands and they can't cut with these. You get a small pair of loppers and do the same cutting. Okay? So this is up to you. Okay? So after that, the idea is, what we're talking about today, is sharpening them. And over the years, you know, you have to learn how to sharpen these tools yourself. You can't bring them to the lawnmower shop. You take the trip out there, you drop them off, they have to get to it, they fix them, they call you in 5 days, your pruners are ready. You know, so you have to learn how to do it yourself. And when I tell people on not just the Felcos, all bypass pruners, you look at them and you can see from here, this is the part of the blade that's sharpened, not this side. So you don't touch this side.
That's like the flat side.
That's the flat side. And then you look at it like that, and if you've been a good boy or girl, there are no nicks in it. If there are nicks in it, you've been cutting wire. And that's not good for the pruners. So what I found that we usually use a stone, and when you buy a stone, they look like this, a lot of them like this. You get a file, they look like this, but they could be all different sizes. And I found these are all too big for this. So I was in Orchard Supply at one time, and they had this Nicholson file. And it's little. And I thought, whoa, what a cool little tool that was. I said, that ought to work real good on my Felcos. So you hold it and put your finger like this, and you go all the way around, and you just keep doing this. And you see, little by little, if you haven't used them in a while, it's turned silver. Because if you haven't used them for a while, they get a little rusty. And go right to the end, because this is the part that dulls the most.
Hey, that's really fulfilling to see it all get all shiny like that, huh?
Yeah, that way you know you're doing good. And then when I'm done, if there are a few burrs, I just go whoop one time. And then you try and cut hairs, take a hair out and cut that. Or the first time you try paper. And then what'll happen, why I like the Felco pruners, is that if you wiggle them this way, a lot of time they get loose. And I can't show you on these, but on this pair, they move just a little bit. You can't hear it, but they go click, click. So on the Felcos, you take this nut off, or loosen this nut, and then loosen this screw. This part jumps out, and then you could turn this ring tighter and tighter until they almost don't cut. They have to open back up. And a lot of times you put a little oil on them, and so the tighter you bring them together, they cut better. They got to be sharp, and a lot of time you could take some steel wool and clean off any crud that gets on there from the sap from the different plants, okay? And that's what I use this for. And then, you know, I used to go to Urban Farmer, and one day I saw this hanging up on the wall, and I could see that it was a stone. And, you know, I'm a dummy sometime, and so I got it out, and it's a diamond stone. So I started using that also, and that does a real nice job on the Felcos. It's small, and it fits right in there, and you could finish off with that.
Gus, you're trying to keep a particular angle or anything like that on there?
You know, I kind of give it that angle.
All right. Like 15, 20 or something like that?
Yeah, some people cut back a lot more. It takes you longer to get it, but then I find that nicks a lot faster. So and then if you keep them sharp like I have on this pair, you just have to hit it a few times and you're back in business. So anyway, you know, I'm there, and I told a lady I wanted this, and she rings it up and gave me my bill, and then I found out it was $27.
What?
I almost choked, but I was the big shot. I didn't want to act like an idiot, so just wrap it up, you know. But there aren't many of you that I think would go out and spend $27 on that. But if you have a rich grandmother, tell her you want that for Christmas, you know, because it is good. I'm not denying that, but you know, I forget what this was, but it was a lot cheaper than that. And this doesn't take a lot of room. You keep it in your truck, and the only thing I can tell you is to sharpen your tools more often than not. And if you just do a couple passes, you're not going to wear the blade out. But if you have a lot of nicks on there and you got to grind all those off, you might even use this stone on the corner and really grind it down to get those nicks out of there. Okay? So the main thing is, do not cut wire in cans. When I would do this one, you could either use this stone and do the same thing.
It's brightening up already.
Yeah, because a stone, this is a fairly rough stone, and always go as far back as you can, because that's the other thing I could tell you is on any of these bypass pruners, the farther back you put what you're going to cut, way back in here, that's when your most leverage is. Don't cut way up in there. If you got a little tiny branch, yeah, you could cut it with the tip, but otherwise you get it way back in there. Same with these. You want to get way back in here in order to make your cut. Okay? I meant to mention too on the Felco, I don't know if you can see it, the little notch here, and that's to cut wire. If you have to cut wire, it's way back in here.
Yep.
And all it means is very fine wire, like if you use twist-ums or something like that. Because a lot of people say, oh, just twist them, it's paper. But there's a wire in there, and if you do it up here, just so you know also, the Felcos are very brittle. That metal on that tip, that's why it's so easy to sharpen. It's like razor blade material, okay? So it nicks real easy. Because I talk students into buying, one of my students, his fell down like this, and it broke the tip off. Well, that's the end of that blade. He came back and complained to me. He said, you told me they're so great. I said, I didn't say they were indestructible. And as a pruner, they're a great tool. And so that's one thing you have to remember. Be careful of the tip, and that's why when you prune straight through. You don't crank like that. A lot of time people get a great big branch and they want to